All right, what's going on, everybody? It is a very rare weekend episode of Talking Buffalo, part of the Blue Wire Network. I am your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you if you are up on Saturday, whether you're watching this on video, whether you're listening on audio. I appreciate you all. Again, it is very, very, very rare that we do a weekend episode. But you know what, man? I was in the mood late Friday night to have a conversation, maybe get the hot take machine rolling a little bit. And since I'm doing that, I think it is as good of a time as any to bring back in, and because it's been a while, man. It's been a hot minute. Joe from Queens at Buffalo Wins on Twitter. It's been a while since you've been on the show, but like I said, it's just this is going to be a very random chat here for the next hour or so. What's going on, man? How you doing?
All right, man. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been on this podcast. Andre
Not
the
a minute, though.
Giant.
Hadn't been that long since I've seen you in person, though. I want to throw that out there too. I did get to hook up with you a little less than a month ago or so. Joe's and his wife Melanie, they had their baby shower at New York Beer Project in Lockport. Shout out to them. I was kind enough to be invited by there. Joe, I had a good time. Good food, man.
Yeah,
Beers,
thank you.
nice little vibe, man. It's a good
Thank
time.
you for
man.
coming. My wife really wishes she wanted to talk to you more. She was like, he left. I'm like, yeah, he bounced, and she would have. she wanted to talk to you, and
We ate and ran, man.
You ate and ran. Like you got bored by us.
No, we didn't get bored. We had a couple other things to do that day, but it was a good time. Plus, you guys are busy, man. You're hosting a beer, you're hosting a baby shower, and you got a lot of shit going on. People talking to you, opening up the gifts, all that stuff. But it was good, man. That's the first time I've ever been to the New York Beer Project.
Lockport. It's a nice space. I mean, we picked it. My sister threw the thing for us, and she lives kind of close by, so she was like, "Yeah, let's just do it there because it's close by." So, but
that's nice. It was
yeah.
Nice
For everyone who doesn't know, I'm gonna be a dad, which is scary and probably shouldn't happen. I'm just kidding, but it's gonna happen next month, give or take. So, I don't know when I'm gonna be back after this. This might be my last podcast with you as a dad. No. As the next podcast
before I'm on with you, a dad.
Yeah, I'll be a dad, and you're gonna have to call me Joe Daddy from Queens, or
do you think
something like that?
All right. So before we get into that, and further back for people who are watching and listening, again, I just wanted to. We were just in the mood to have a conversation. It's been quite a while, and why not have one on a late Friday night going into Saturday morning? So you're gonna have a kid soon, and we're gonna talk Bills, Sabres. And this is funny. I'm looking at a phone, but for the first time ever, Joe, I don't even know what we're at, 580 something, maybe episodes of this. I don't think I've ever done a podcast ever where I don't have at least a Microsoft Word sheet, like at least a bunch of bullet points in front of me. I literally got nothing. So
you never send me shit anyway. Like this is this is going to be a Festivus podcast. I'm going to complain about Pat. Pat never sends me. He never sends me a rundown. I'll give him credit though. He did ask me in advance, like a couple days ago, like he wanted to do this. Usually he'll message me on the bat line of Facebook Messenger, and he'll be like, "Yo, can you be on the podcast in 10 minutes?" I'm like, "Sure, dude, fine." And then it's just we're gonna have a free conversation, and he'll write a topic on like a bar napkin of like Bills, media. That's it. I'll be like, "Great, dude, we'll just fly off." I'm sure he has an awesome rundown for that punk Aaron Quinn. He gets a rundown probably. Joe Yerding gets a bat signal probably for when he's needed. I get fucking like, hey, buddy, you want to come on the podcast?
Mm-hmm, I asked you last week. You blew me off pretty much last Friday night. You said you had low energy.
I did blow you off. I was dead tired last Friday.
Low energy. When the hell do you ever have low energy? But let me ask you this in all seriousness. Well, semi-seriousness at least. So you're going to be a dad soon for the first time.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And do you think, and you won't know until it happens, and you'll find out over time. Do you anticipate right now being a father maybe mellowing you out a little bit? Not to say that you're not like some, crazy psychopath. That's not what I'm suggesting either. Although people on Twitter might think you are, but in real life, no. But do you think being a dad's going to mellow you out some? Maybe on social media too.
I think so. Yeah. I haven't planned that I'm not going to be on Twitter as much because this is my theory. I have seen dads that I've known who became dads and had a Twitter presence that when their kid came, they became bigger dicks on Twitter. And I think a lot of that has to do with, lack of sleep. You're fucking kind of miserable the first couple of months. And I think they like look for like they have a minute, the kid's sleeping on the toilet, and they're like, let me go on Twitter, and then they start fights or something triggers them to get really fucking annoyed. And I get very easily annoyed by a bunch of Buffalo trivial shit, and I don't want to be that guy who comes on there and I've kind of down, if you follow me, I haven't been on Twitter that much. I have mellowed out. I do like a morning scroll, and then maybe like if something happens, like I hear about like legit news, not fucking who's the 5th wide receiver at OTAs. But
you're not on as much. Your takes are more hit and run as opposed to sustained takes. And what I mean by that is like you got something to say,
dead.
You say you're not going to sit there and spend the day going back and forth fighting with people.
It's also my hibernation. I mean, look, there's nothing really to talk about. I mean, what the fuck do I got to talk about? OTAs?
Well, we got plenty of stuff to talk about today.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because I messaged you a bunch of stuff last week that you're just going to look in your phone and be like, okay, we talked about Hopkins last week. Is he coming here? Diggs. What's going on with Diggs?
I think
what's going on with Star 102.5? You've got to be depressed about Star 102.5 because I could picture you listening to Star 102.5 every day, and now honestly, they got bought by Christians or something. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, they honest to God. No, I don't. I don't listen to radio stations anymore. I listen to Sirius Radio. I subscribe to Sirius, and I have 3 stations. I have 80s on 8 that I play. These are the 3 stations that are in my rotation. 80s on 8, channel 16, which is called The Blend. It's like pop rock. It's almost like yacht rock.
Okay.
And then I have old school rap, channel 43.
Oh.
So it's either old school rap, 80s, or like yacht rock. Those are literally the only 3 stations to listen to. I don't listen to the radio anymore. I listen to WGR sometimes, driving around or stuff like that for sports talks. I don't have the sports stations on Sirius. Plus, I want the, some keep up with the local or what the local people are saying. But no, I really don't listen to radio anymore. Anyway, I don't see you mellowing out so much as I see you not being around as much, like on Twitter.
Yeah.
You might say this little thing is not worth even tweeting about, or you might throw one tweet out there and then you might be done. Whereas
I don't think I've caused problems, to be honest, for a while. I don't think I've had like a hot,
good lately. It's
I don't think I've had like a hot, crazy take. I mean, I was, there were some things I was going to say this past week, like, and I didn't. Like, for instance, I didn't give a flying fuck about the ceremony at the stadium, the dig the fucking, put a shovel in the dirt and be like, the new stadium's coming here. And I wasn't feeling any sort of like, oh man, this is so cool, and the Bills are here to stay forever. I was like, whatever, good for you. I'm glad our tax money is going to that, which the team can pay for it themselves, but this is how sports works these days, or whatever. I was gonna say something like, who gives a shit? And I didn't. I was like, you know what?
No, you're saying it now.
Yeah, I'm saying it now. So for our 30 listeners, they can hear that. Like,
we're firing up the hot take Buffalo sports machine today. Well, listen,
but anyways, I'll talk about that real quick, and then we'll go on since it's my show too. But yeah, I didn't give a shit. I thought it was stupid. Like, I don't get why people would care. Like, I don't know. If it was like downtown, maybe I probably would have cared a little bit. Like, oh, look, there's a skyline. It's going to look beautiful, etc. But it's like, yeah, you're building like a bigger stadium next door, and it's not going to really do much to the area around it. I don't think they're going to develop anything. It's going to be like when they have the Casino Niagara in Niagara Falls, and they build it and nothing around it happens. And that's how I feel it's going to be. So, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was like this monumental, I got to get down there and take a picture with fucking Terry and
I agree
shovels.
With you. For the most part, I agree with you. It's political stuff. It's about getting your politicians and your leaders up there and basically taking their victory lap. I mean, some speeches are better than others. Ron McCool's speech was all right. Kathy Hochul, that was Mark Poloncar's, his speech I thought was pretty good too. Again, all the political.
I didn't watch any of those. I don't know.
Kathy Hochul was brutal, stumbling all over the place. You could tell the fake fan, go Bills, yeah, that kind of shit. Didn't like it, but I will say one thing, and I agree with you for the most part, but the one takeaway that I did have from what was overall just a run-of-the-mill kind of stadium ceremony that we see all the time, I thought Terry Bagula, who's not known for speaking, who doesn't speak often publicly, who is not he's not the best speaker of professional sports owners publicly. I thought he did a really good job. I really do. I thought he nailed it. Say what you want about him, and there's a lot of negative things that could be said about him, but I'll give him a lot of credit. I felt like the emotion was genuine. I don't know if you saw the highlight or whatever, but when he named the 10 victims from the top shooting of a year ago, He had to stop. He had to compose himself, and it felt genuine. And then he publicly acknowledged his wife, which again, I've yet to ever hear him say a public word about it. I mean, he didn't say anything specifically to her condition or what's going on, but you could just tell how much he missed her not being there and how much I'm sure that hurt him. It is his wife, Sure. So I give him a lot of credit for kind of wearing his heart on his sleeve, so to speak, with that specific speech. At least you could tell, by the way, when he bought the Sabres and he started crying when he was talking about the French Connection many years ago. He is a Buffalo sports fan through and through. I got to say that. I think he's a shitty speaker. I think he's hired some terrible. He's had some terrible hires on the hockey side, which fortunately is now, I don't know if thunder, or lightning struck and they kind of got lucky a little bit and turned things around with the staff that they have right now. But things are on the upswing with the Sabres, the Bills. Maybe he got lucky with McDermott and Bean, and I don't know, but he had a couple of shitty hires before that. Anyway, my point is we could criticize him for some of his ownership decisions and some other stuff, but I think he's a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. And anyway, my point was I thought his speech was really good during an boring ass ceremony.
Yeah, I saw the transcription of it. I don't think I clicked on it. I don't remember, but I remember you tweeting about it, and people said that. I think the whole thing with Terry is in the Pegulas is they're not a very transparent. They're very private when it comes to everything, especially him. Like I can't remember.
He doesn't talk often.
He doesn't talk at all. And like I've complained a little bit here and there since like the whole Kim Pegula thing came down. Like who's in charge of the business side of the team? Is it Ron Racoulier, I guess? Or like there's like the fucking guy they hired for the Sabres who was one of Terry's friends. It's just there's things like I'm like, God, I kind of wish we would know who is pulling the strings here and is like, and they don't really do that, and they kind of. We've talked about this before. Their PR kind of rules with a bit of an iron fist, but they don't. They keep them under wraps. Like you never. I mean, we got Terry there. I can't. Like I said, I don't remember. I think the last time he talked, where he took questions from reporters, was when he fired him and Kim fired Botterill, and they had that horrible Zoom call where they were like, "We're gonna go cheap," and that was 2020. It's been a fucking minute. So. But yeah, I feel for him. Obviously, that dude's going through a lot with his wife. Still in the hospital, I think, of what's happened. But yeah, what did you think? Since I'm gonna spin stuff at you. What did you think about the Manning cover? Do you care? Are you a gamer? You don't strike me as a gamer. Do you care about Allen being on the Manning cover?
I'm not a gamer at all. I never was a gamer. I did play Madden for many, many years. I played the sports games when they come out. There's like 2 or 3 games a year. I didn't want to see a teenager because it was in my adult years too. But I have not played any Xbox probably in 15 years, maybe longer. I like it. I think it's cool. I do. It's not. I mean, it's not. I don't know. It's a pretty cool story to me, and I know it can be overplayed, but the kid who went to junior college and didn't have a single scholarship and wrote all these letters and only got one back from Wyoming. Then he becomes a first-round draft pick. The fans didn't want him. They wanted Josh Rosen, including me. I'm not going to lie. To grow into what he's become and then be on the cover. He's arrived, whether you like it or not. And I don't know how much I liked all this, my quarterback being as big of a star as he's become.
You talked about that last time, and I didn't like it then. Come on.
Well,
what the hell? Tom Brady? So hold on. Now I'm getting pissed already. And it's only midnight. We're like 12 minutes into this thing. Tom Brady won like 7,000 titles, and he was boning the sexiest woman alive.
Agreed.
He was fine. So what are you talking about? Like, he can't. This lifestyle. Even your boy Jeter was freaking Mariah Carey and all them, and
I don't disagree.
So when he was the fame thing,
I'm not saying. I said I don't know if I like it. I'm not used to it. We're not used to this level of stardom for any Buffalo athlete. That's what I'm saying.
Sure. Okay. Well,
not even close either. But him being on the cover, I mean, I think that's pretty fucking cool, dude. You're on the cover. Yeah. That's put it this way. I'm going to, and if you're watching this on the video side, I have no qualm saying this. Okay. I try really hard I'm a Bills fan. I don't like some other people front and say that I'm not a fan. I am a fan. Okay. But when I'm on this show, when I'm behind this microphone, whether it's my show, whether I'm talking with somebody else on theirs, I try to be very objective. I'm critical. I'm not afraid to be critical. In fact, I was very critical of Josh Allen. I thought he was garbage against Cincinnati. I thought he was as responsible as anyone on the team, but it's so easy to blame Ed Oliver and the defense and Leslie Frazier, and I know you're going to ring him up sooner or later. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But other stuff, my point was Josh was garbage in the playoffs. But I'm objective on this show, but I am a big Josh Allen fan. I am. And if you're watching this on the video side, by the way, if you look behind like my setup, I got a Josh Allen, I don't know what you even want to call
it.
Cutout
of
mini
Josh Allen. I don't know.
I have
a lava lamp you have back
not
there.
Not one, but two Josh Allen cereal things.
So you're a stalker. That's
directly
what you're saying
behind
right
me.
Now.
I have a Josh Allen J.A. Blend coffee thing behind me, which is really cool. And my point was this. I am going to buy a copy of this new Madden. I'm not even going to open it. It's probably going to say in the package. And it'll be somewhere
You're
going
to find a way to get a fake version of that. You're not paying
No, I'm not. I'll buy it. I'm going to buy a copy. I want the cover of it. I want the authentic thing because I think it might be a collector's item. I'm not even going to open it up either. I'm just going to keep it. It'll be somewhere here in on my podcast setup.
I mean, maybe
what do you think about it being on the cover? This is my podcast, not yours. I'm supposed to ask the questions, not you.
Hey, you know what? I could steer the conversation whatever I want. Okay,
that's fair. What do you think about it being on the cover? I think it's cool to answer your question. I'm happy
cool.
for it.
I think it's cooler than a ceremonial freaking shovel thing at the stadium. But yeah, I think it's cool. I think, I think back to like 5-6 years ago how irrelevant the Bills were. We had like no one. Like we never thought about a player getting on Madden. I remember going to like Bills bars or like going to sports bars, and you would always see, and this is what I thought of. You would always see like a DirecTV banner, and it would have like 25 random players like on a field. It was like an animated sign, and I would be like, no Bill, no Bill, no Bill, no Bill, no Bill, and we've gone from like that where you never see them in the opening for NBC, like NFL on NBC or whatever, like on Sunday Night Football, to hey, he's got the cover, which is. I mean, that is that's probably like, when you were younger, you used to think about Sports Illustrated, like getting on the cover of Sports Illustrated was a big fucking deal. And now it's not. Like, I don't even know if Sports Illustrated magazine's around. I don't think it is. But like in terms of the physical thing, maybe it is. I don't know. But like, who cares? But like,
it's in terms of, but you're right.
Yeah, but like, getting on the cover, it's a big deal. So yeah, I'm it's cool for him. Good for him. And yeah, good. I like I like, and he's in. I know you don't like talking about this, but like he's going out with the girl from Hawkeye. Like, good for him. Like, good. Like, get a starlet.
Who said I didn't like talking about it?
You did it. Remember the one time I don't know what it was, 2 months ago. You didn't want to tweet about Josh Allen's personal life, even though everyone else tweets about it.
No.
And like obsesses over his ex-girlfriend, or did when he was with her.
He's a celebrity. The New York Post is covering it. There's nothing you can do about that. What I do when you're going through a painful breakup and whose fault it is and all the details, whether I know stuff or whether I don't, it's not my place to tweet that out. And I don't want to see other people doing the same. That's different, man. That's
all right. Well, fine. I guess that's fair. I mean,
he's single now. Now he's Hollywood.
He may not be
Josh.
single. He's Hollywood Josh. Hollywood Josh. You're gonna call him Hollywood Josh. All right.
Let me say this. All right. I'll give you a.
First 4-pick game, you're going to be like, it's Hollywood Josh right here.
Thank you for saying that, because that's what I was about to tell you. I don't want to call this a hot take, but you're asking, do I think him being on the cover of Madden is cool? I absolutely do. But at the same token, the cynical part of me, when I think of other people, not fans of Buffalo, but, well, mainly fans around the league. First time this dude has a bad game. First time. Overrated. You're going to hear the word overrated from national media a lot. You're going to hear people talk about him. He's more concerned about banging Hollywood actresses than he is focused on football. Again, you're going to hear that he's overrated, or this guy's on the cover. He did whatever with his ex-girlfriend, or she did that to him, or he did it to her, whatever it may be. All the gossip, all the dirt. Point being is haters are getting all the ammunition they want, because you're getting Josh shoved down your face right now. If this was Tua on the cover of Madden, if this was Tua who was hooking up with I don't know, Natalie Portman or some shit like that, and you'd be like,
Natalie Portman, would you pull that out of your ass? Star Wars was on.
You'd be waiting for his ass to fall so that you could pile on him. That's how people who are not Bills fans, you're kind of, it comes with the territory, dude. When you want to be that, not when you want to be, but when you are that famous, it comes with the territory, man. People like to pick you up, and they like to knock you down. So if he comes out and he struggles a little bit early on, we're going to hear critics question his focus.
You can say that for everyone. Like all the Mahomes,
everyone ain't on the cover of Madden though.
It doesn't. Yeah, they've been in the past. I don't know. I think you're thinking too much of everyone.
And by the way, Mahomes curse too. Another thing people hated about Allen was the Madden curse.
There's no curse anymore.
Mahomes put that shit. Mahomes put
so
that
did
shit.
Brady.
And so
did
Tom
Brady. Yeah, correct. It's bullshit. Anyways, but I don't think this is going to be like, I don't know. After one game, I don't know. I think he's proven himself to be like Peyton Hillis was the one guy I remember. Like he'd never deserved to be on the. He had one good year and they threw him on the cover. I was like, that's weird. Like Allen's had like 4 good years in a row. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's. I'm
not saying it's going to be deserved. I'm not saying it's going to be deserved because he has a bad game. Well, let's kill him. I'm telling you, that's the way it's going to go down. Though. I know. Well, I know you don't. Some people will.
I know it will be by some people, and it will get single boosted by the mafia, and they'll be like, "Oh, no one likes us." And I was like, "No, people do like you. Your quarterback's on the fucking cover of the video game. It could have been anyone else." But good for him. I'm happy for him. I want my quarterback to be a star. Like get on the award show.
I think it's cool as hell, man.
Yeah,
he's larger than life. It's been a long time.
Date more actresses. Get some Marvel spoilers. Find out what's going to happen in Phase 7 or whatever it is from the Hawkeye girl. You're doing good, bro.
But you know what? Speaking of, I can't get into. I'm having a hard time getting into Marvel since Avengers Endgame. When Tony Stark died, Captain America gone. Scarlett Johansson gone. Dude, if you ain't watched that shit by now, you haven't watched it. And again, for everybody who is waking up on Saturday and seeing this in their YouTube feed or their audio podcast feed, I appreciate you checking us out on a Saturday. By the time you're watching or listening, I might be drinking some mimosas, by the way. And I'm not joking because this just came in the mail. Let me put up my solo here. Look what I ordered today, dude. Or yesterday, came in the mail already.
Champagne
Mimosa Saturday. So I will be drinking mimosas all day on Saturday. I even bought a 24 case of 9-ounce champagne flutes.
There's a place across the street
you can't be making mimosas and putting that shit in fucking solo cups or coffee cups.
Well, you see, here's the thing about mimosas. A couple of things I'll tell you about. So there's a bunch of places by me that has that, and they have like pineapple mimosas, they have like cranberry mimosas. They're great, but I hate it in a champagne flute because I'm like, this sucks. There's not enough in it. I need like a goblet. That's what I need. And I don't like the champagne. I want a goblet.
Sip on them and you're supposed to feel that vibe.
Pat, you weigh like 280 pounds.
I do not weigh 280 pounds. It's like 200 pounds, and I'm fat now, and I need to lose some weight. Well, I like the 9-ounce glasses. 9-ounce. It's classy.
Classy.
It is classy. You're a fucking who puts champagne in a gobbler?
Well, it's a goblet. I would say like a bigger like a thing. Like I can't describe it. I don't like a champagne flute. Because it's expensive. Like you're there and it's fine. I'm sure you got some cheap champagne because you're a cheapskate. And like, if you want to go to the place,
brewed champagne, baby, like it's like $7 something a bottle. I'm gonna buy 5 bottles in the morning, so I got a handful of people coming. I'm not joking. It is gonna be Mimosa Saturday at the Moran house. I got a handful of friends coming over. We're gonna have some mimosas and
what are you gonna watch?
Put some tunes on, have ourselves a day. Watch God. What?
What are you gonna watch on TV? Are you just gonna play music when your friends are over?
While play, 80s music, of course. I'm looking at my phone. Some things that you originally about a week and a half ago that you had takes on. I want to save that one for kind of after the break. Kind of learning a lot of this, obviously, is Bill's stuff. You're not on Twitter as much, but you are following a little bit, I'm sure, what's going on with DeAndre Hopkins. It's never say never, so I'm not going to go as far to say never. I can almost say never. He's not coming to Buffalo. It's kind of funny. He was talking about, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. But he was talking about trying to chase a ring and that being the most important thing. Well, the two visits that he has lined up is New England and Tennessee. Your boy wants to get paid. He ain't signing with the Bills for $4 or $5 million up to $7 million. He's not going to sign with the Chiefs or anybody for that money. He's trying to get that Odell Beckham money. And I don't hate on him for it.
Yeah, but, I mean, they always say they're after the ring. They never say like, "Hey, I'm after the money." I mean, they're after both.
If things are equal or they're close to equal, then sure. I genuinely believe some guys take less money to go to a Super Bowl contender. But are you talking a couple 100,000, maybe $1 million or $1.5 million, or are you talking the difference between the Bills giving him 1 year, $4.5 million, prove it, versus Tennessee who might throw $13 million. Now you're going to give up $8 million for a year. That's bullshit. He's chasing the money, and I don't blame him, but that's what's happening.
Well, it depends what all the other teams are paying. It's been kind of a weird dynamic. When there's been articles where there's been NFL executives that have said he's over the hill. I think I forgot who had that, but someone had it a couple weeks ago.
The Athletic, they cited a source. Tim Graham. My bad. No, was it Tim?
It was Tim had one, and then another guy had a national guy had 3
Tim sources. Reported that it was a long shot, but I don't think his source.
He talked about practice, that he's bad at practice. That's what he said.
He loves the game day, but he's not so much a practice guy. I saw another article, and it wasn't Tim's. It was somewhere else where an executive said he can't run anymore. But then I've seen other ones. I've seen some film breakdown that he still looked good last year. He put up good numbers last year.
Yeah, he put up good numbers, and he got hurt, and then Murray went down, and they had some jack off. I think Skelton or who that fucking knows. I forgot who was their quarterback. Came in, but I still think he can play. I mean, look, I've been on the Hopkins train since all these rumors started back in February. I would have loved them to sign him. I don't think
he created that buzz by talking about openly on the paper. Vaughn Miller,
but there were reports though that the Bills did have conversations about him with him. So you can't just put it on him he was being a media
Brandon
whore.
Beane said he talked to DeAndre Hopkins. Beane said that last week or so. He said Beane talked to him directly.
Yeah. So either way, I would have loved having him here. I think you can never have an issue. You want as many weapons as possible for Josh Allen. And I am of the mindset of, I think the Bills have improved since last year. But if there's one spot on this roster that I think is getting a little bit overrated from the things I've seen on Twitter by the content people, you included probably, I think the wide receiving core is getting a little bit too hyped up with Sherfield and Hardy. I don't know. That's your third, fourth, and fifth guys. I'm not signing up to them yet at all. Their numbers aren't really impressive. I know you can make excuses as to why quarterback play, where they're coming from or whatever the case may be, but I'm not getting hyped up over that. I mean, to me, Dalton Kincaid's the key to that. He's supposed to play in the slot, allegedly. That
was one of your points we were going to get to. Go ahead. Again, this is random. There's no outline here. We're just talking. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sure. And that's the big X factor for this offense is how good is he going to be? I have no idea. We know that there's numbers that statistically say rookie tight ends tend to not be impact guys. Think of Dawson Knox. He had one good play as a rookie and he sucked. To be honest with you.
I think it's going to be used differently, but you're right.
But
right
yes, allegedly he's supposed to be used in the slot. I heard that all that he's going to be the next Cole. He's going to be beefier Cole Beasley, whatever. Fine. And if that's the case, then, I don't, without knowing much about him, he's going to transition into it. He's going to be good or not. You and I both know. I mean, I'm not a draft expert. You're more into it than I am. I have no idea if this guy's going to be good right out of the gates. But I really I've talked about I wanted an offensive doom. I wanted skill guys. I wanted all these, especially a wide receiver. I don't feel like I got that this offseason. I think the offensive line is fine. They've made improvements. Mazel tov to that. The running back room, I don't care about running the football. I've talked about it with you before. I want a running back who's going to catch out of the backfield. That's my thing. And right now, I feel like they're in this position where it's going to be who's going to be the guy. Because they got 4 running backs there again, where a convoluted, running back room. I know everyone wants James Cook. I'm sure wants him because it's the younger guys always get the hype. Once the 1 to 2 year guys, they always get the love, and everyone wants this guy to be the guy. Fine, if he's the guy, he's the guy. But I'm worried that something's going to happen. That they're not going to make him the guy for whatever reason. Because look, there's been so many moments where young players under McDermott, we just assumed they were going to be impact guys. And not impact guys, they were going to play. Elam last year. We all thought Elam's going to be a first day one starter. doesn't do shit. James Cook. Oh, hey,
he might not be a year 2 starter. By
the way.
We don't. He's going into camp like in a legit. From all reports, it's saying he's going in a legit battle with Benford and maybe Dane Jackson as well. So that job is not his.
And the new guy they just signed for the Vikings. I forgot his name. He's
Dantzler. Yeah, he ain't going to be around. He's going to have a cup of coffee. I predict. I don't think he's going to be around long.
Okay, I don't know, but maybe you're right. But like, there's moments where we just assume like the young first, second rounder is going to be an impact guy, play right away, and they don't. They're weird when it comes to that shit. So, I don't know, the wide receiving core. You tell me. I feel I'm not really sold on them after from 3 to 5. We'll just say I'm not entirely sold on them.
I'm not. Go ahead. I'm not that sold on me. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. It's not that. I don't think that many people are sold on Sherfield and Hardy, other than saying that they are better than Isaiah McKenzie and Kumaro and maybe Jamison Crowder, who because of injuries did nothing for the Bills.
God, I forgot about him.
Yeah. So I think they might be better there, but it's still about Diggs and Gabe Davis. But I do think where the offense is going to be better, I do think Kincaid is going to bring an element to the offense that they didn't have last year. And I do think the offensive line is going to be better as well, which, look, if the offensive line's better, then Josh Allen's going to be better. I like that Gabe Davis is in a contract year. Doesn't mean that he's going to play great because he's in a contract year, but if he's ever going to play great, this is going to be the year he wants to get that money. What I have liked to him, look, I'm not sitting here and saying I wish they didn't sign, or I'm glad they didn't sign DeAndre Hopkins. I wish that they would have. I do think Kincaid's going to be more of a, I hate comparing, he's never going to be Travis Kelce because no one's going to be Travis Kelce, but I think he's going to be that type of pass
They're going to use him in the slot. They're
going to use him in the slot a lot. So I almost consider him a wide receiver. You did mention one thing too. I want to run down this list. Young guys, they don't automatically become, you assume they're going to grow and become really good their second year. Let me run off, and then we're going to take a break. Let me run off the Buffalo Bills day 2 picks of the Brandon Beane era right now. These are the day 2 picks, so rounds 2 and 3. I'll go from longest to most recent. Harrison Phillips, 2018, good player. Cody Ford, 2019, no comment. Devin Singletary, 2019, just another guy. Dawson Knox, 2019, pretty good tight end, got his money. He's good, not great. AJ Epinesa, probably Dawson Knox, maybe the best player on this list, actually. AJ Epinesa has never really materialized into much. We keep hearing every year, this is going to be the year. Well, this is going in the year 4 now. Where is it? Zach Moss, round 3, 2020, gone. Spencer Brown, 2021, starting right tackle. Brandon Beane's high on him. We haven't seen a lot to suggest that he should be, but he's your starting right tackle right now anyway. Boogie Basham, 2021. This guy might get traded somewhere during camp. The Bills got a lot of defensive ends. He's a splash guy at best, very inconsistent. Then you got Terrell Bernard, who maybe is in the mix for starting linebacker this year.
That's your boy.
And then James Cook, who I do like James Cook. I think James Cook, I just named everyone on this list. James Cook potentially could become a really good feature running back over the next couple of years. Won't be around for long because running backs don't get second contracts with their same team anymore. We just saw that some get cut when they're good, like his brother Dalvin just did. And then this year they took Dorian Williams in the 3rd round. We can't judge a rookie before he's played a snap in the NFL. And they took an offensive guard in round 2. So not going to even mention those guys because we haven't even seen them play in training camp yet. But point is this, dude. That's not a great list, man. Dawson Knox, good. Harrison Phillips, pretty good. Spencer Brown, wait and see. That's it, man. Out of land, and James Cook will wait and see. That's like 9-10 guys I just mentioned, like 30% hit rate at best. Not so great.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Beane, I feel he's one of those guys. He knows how to play a lot of people, like how he talks. Fans love him. The media bros love him. He's Mr. Golf to them. There's things he has to get better at. He's not been. He's
golf bros. I just get a kick when you say that. That's where I'm like knowing you were missing. In fact, I think I might have even sent you a message. The Bills had their media golf tournament. I'm like,
I got DMs from people.
That's like usually a siren for you, like media on media crime. I'm like, Joe's not even bashing the Bills bros for playing golf. And by the way, some women too as well, but whatever. I know you just called the Bills bro beat and stuff. Just sometimes it can be kind of funny. I'm not going to lie.
It's always funny. You laugh.
It's not always. It depends on what context.
But either way,
right context, it's funny.
Either way, Bean, I feel like gets a little bit of a pass. He knows he's a, I don't even like how he talks in public. I'm being a dick here, but like he just rambles on and on and on, and he's full of shit, and it's fine. Like you can be full of shit. Like he was full of shit. Like, oh, I'm going to trade back. And, on the draft. And of course he traded up, which I'm not saying that you can't be full of shit. You can, but don't, I hate when the media bros are like, oh, he's so honest with us and he's talking all this. It's like, nah, bro, he's fucking pulling your chain. But anyways, I think he's got a lot of pressure. I feel on coming into this year. I feel like Ken Dorsey has a lot because now there's so much on the line with him and like playing, 12 personnel. Like, how much are they going to do that? Or is it going to be like just Kincaid in the slot the whole time or whatever? Like, there's a lot of pressure, I think, on all these guys, more so than the previous last couple of years. My one friend who I talk Bills with all the time, he always says like he's happy the Bills are like under the radar a little bit in comparison to last. Well, I think why? Because the Manning cover or what? I mean, no. When I say no,
favorites.
Well, they're like the third, I think, as of right now. I think
okay, still.
But last year, I feel that it was more of that. Maybe everyone had them going to the Super Bowl and winning. Point being is my friend said that to me, and I was kind of like, well, yeah, but it's also like there's who gives a shit about like the pressure from like the media? Like there's pressure on them. Like this is year 4 of Josh Allen being the man, and you got one division, you got one conference title game, you got some fucking horrible playoff losses. And like you made improvements this offseason. Like there's no denying it. Would I have liked a big splash wide receiver? Sure. But I think there's a lot of pressure. Like I don't know what the ceiling is or what the bottom is in terms of like what if this happens? Like what if they go 10-7? What if the offense, maybe they'll be in the top 5, but maybe they'll freaking bomb out in the playoff game again like they did against the Bengals. Like what happens to Dorsey then? There's a lot of like I can't figure out what the bottom is for this team right now. Where it's like, okay, what the fuck? Are we in the Marty Schottenheimer time loop of like this is where we're going to be at every year, or are we Andy Reid like with the Chiefs and like he had those like mishaps with the Eagles and all of a sudden he's going to the next level with winning titles and that sort of stuff.
I agree with you there. I do think there's a lot of pressure. I think anything if they only get as far as they had the last 2 years and that's winning maybe one playoff game and then losing in the divisional round, you're going to start to hear a lot of, well, Josh Allen's a great player, makes a lot of great plays, but is he really a winner? Sean McDermott, he's a leader of men. He is a good character guy, but can he coach on game day when it matters? Is the job too big for Ken Dorsey? Lots of questions. Is this roster just good enough? Is Brandon Beane really done enough? Has he gotten enough on offense, to your point, in the skill position to help them?
I'll say this real quick before you go to the break, because I know you wanted to go to it. Like, how many defensive linemen does this fucking team need? Do we need just defensive linemen? I thought they learned. I'm gonna complain a little bit when I shouldn't be complaining, but like after the draft, I remember like I think Capaccio had something like, oh, the Bills have signed all these offensive players and only like 2 defensive players or something like that. And of course, they go out and they get more defensive linemen. And I'm just like, why? Like, the Floyd guy from the Rams, he seems good. Hey, like he's got
a good player.
Yeah, 10. I think he's got like 3 straight years of 9 sacks or more. He's like top 10. But like my worry is the dude he's played between 80 and 90% of the snaps. Last year, I think the defensive lineman that played the largest percentage of snaps. And again, Von Miller got hurt, etc. But I think it was Daquan Johnson at like 63%. So I'm like, this dude's not going to get 10 sacks if he's playing 50 to 60% of the snaps. You know what I mean?
But
I don't like this defensive line rotation has its drawbacks because I think younger guys, it's harder to find out who these younger guys are if they're only playing 30% of the snaps.
We're talking about pressure and winning now. Go get me a veteran. I don't want to rely on AJ Epinesa or Boogie Basham taking the next step. I would agree with you about the defensive line. If you were taking money in March and and Leonard Floyd got a 3-year, $30-something million deal, and I'd be like, come on, what the fuck? You go get you a weapon or do something different. But it's June. And Von Miller, who knows when he's going to be back? I don't trust Boogie Basham or A.J. Epinesa. Greg Rousseau's going into year 3. Shaq is good against the run. Doesn't get after the quarterback. You need somebody who get after the quarterback.
I would rather have, instead of Floyd or Ford, the guys that got after, I would rather put those towards, like, instead of signing those types of guys, sign offensive weapons. Sherfield isn't compared to those two guys we just mentioned. Like, he'll be lucky to get on like 10 snaps a game. Who the hell knows at this point? But like, I would have rather have been like, put your assets into offense. My God, more. I don't care about the pass rush. We had I said this in the last podcast. I'll say it again. The Eagles had 1 billion sacks this year, and the Super Bowl didn't matter with a damn. And like, Mahomes cut him up with when he was on one leg. Enough with the pass rush.
I got to get to a break. Let me take a quick break. I'll be right back. More with Joe from Queens. We're firing up the hot take machine. A lot of Buffalo Bills talk. We'll have some more too when we come.
I'm going to have a hot take after this break.
All right, we're back. You said right going into the break, you're going to have a hot take after this break, man. What the hell are you talking about?
Did you put me on the spot here? I forgot.
I want to get to some stuff beyond the Bills too, by the way. But I will say I don't agree. Before the break, you were talking about the Bills spending money on the defensive line, and the reason why I don't agree with you again is because they got these guys really cheap, and they got them after the draft.
Do we know how much their contracts are? See, this is what happens.
Not a lot.
You're not. What's a
lot? I don't have it in front of me. Not a lot.
Have it in front. Great researcher over here.
They're not a lot. I'm just telling you that, and right now, and I'm going to tell you what. Don't sleep on Poona Ford, because I talked to Joe. Quick, I can't remember the last name, but he covers the
guy named Joe. Okay. Oh, Goodberry.
Joe Goodberry. Yeah. Yes. Joe Goodberry. My bad. I didn't mean to disrespect Joe there. He's excellent. Great guy covering the Bengals, man. Knows his shit. And I remember being on a show with him. It wasn't the show. We were both on another show not all that long ago, and we were talking about other teams. And I remember him talking on the show that he told his friend that when DaQuan Jones was out injured for that Bengals game in the playoffs and the Bills got smacked, that he was very much missed, that the Bengals were just pushing the defensive tackles all over the place. DaQuan Jones was a big part of the Bills' defense, and he talked about that, like, and backed it up with some pretty good stats and analytics to suggest how important he was in his defense. Poona Ford's the same type of player. And if one guy gets hurt, I want a guy like Poona Ford. You need to be better on defense. I know what you said about the Eagles, and it's not that that's bullshit, because it is true. But still, you look with the Bengals, how easily their offense, how easy of a time Burrow and they ran the ball, Mixon ran it down the Bills' throats in the playoffs. And then the next week in Arrowhead, that Kansas City pass rush was suffocating Joe Burrow, getting him to the ground, forcing him into mistakes. So while I agree with you that,
that's the thing,
weapons, but the pass rush does matter. The defensive line does matter, and the Bills have not been good enough there.
All right. Well, since you're saying they're not good enough there, how'd you feel about the Ed Oliver extension? Because let me say this. I'm going to put I wish you can go back and you can put the clip of me before with you on the podcast. Mm-hmm. You were not happy with Ed Oliver the last time I talked to you on this podcast. You were not happy.
Nope.
I actually was sticking up for him a little bit, because I was like, I thought he just had a bad month, and boom, he gets in a contract extension. Yep. How do you, I'll say this, and then you can go into your rigmarole. I was surprised that they did it this early. I would have probably waited. I wonder if they were worried, maybe they thought about Tremaine Edmonds and maybe waiting, and it's oh, we don't want his salary to go up. I also think
100%.
This is a team that overvalues defensive linemen, hence why we have 55 defensive linemen on this roster and we can never stop. So I think they look at it that way as well. Obviously, I think I would have waited. I think Ed Oliver is a nice player. He's a little bit inconsistent. He's kind of like the Tremaine Edmonds of now, the new Tremaine Edmonds, where he's kind of a hot button, polarizing guy. He's got his fans. He's got his detractors.
Yeah. Yep.
But he's got to be better, and because they got you're talking about this pass rush, and they love bringing they love their defensive linemen. They got to draft them high and sign them after June 1st and all this shit. But I was really shocked that they signed him this early, and
Me too.
I don't know how it's going to work out like in the long run, because at some point, that defensive lineman, there needs to be another one or two anchors there aside from him. And I don't even think he's an anchor. I think he's a good player, but he needs like Von Miller to help him out. That's where he was really good last year, and we don't know what the hell's going on with Von Miller. And he says he's coming back week 1, and Von Miller's never right about anything.
He's not going to be back week 1. I'd like to see it. I don't think, and I think Leonard Floyd being signed with the Bills affords them to take their time more with Von Miller.
Sure.
I don't agree with you that they should have waited, because you brought this up and you're right. I think what happened last year by not extending Tremaine Edmonds when they could have, they let him play out his 5th year, and then Tremaine, no matter what you think of him throughout his Bills career, he undoubtedly had his best season last year. And then he went out and he got paid huge. And first of all, you're not going to franchise. I know some people were like, well, let him play out this 5th year, and if he looks really good, then you franchise tag him. No, because you're going to be paying $22, $23 million or more for 1 year. So that wasn't an option, just like it wasn't with Tremaine Edmonds this past year. So I feel like if you like the player, you value the player, get it done now. Don't let him go into the 5th year, because
what about you, though? You, Pat Moran, the GM, though. I get what why did it. Go ahead.
The contract, well, I was surprised when I first heard the contract. My knee-jerk reaction was, like, fucking serious? 4 years, $68 million, 45 guaranteed. Then over the next couple of days, I started looking at and listening to people talking about other defensive tackles around the league and where he slots in terms of being paid. Right now, he's like the 12th or 13th highest
bullied.
paid.
You're getting bullied into buying
I can be objective and reasonable.
You're getting bullied into it. Go ahead.
No, he's 12th or 13th right now in terms of highest paid defensive tackles. And there's 2 defensive tackles. Quinton Williams is one. I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but there's 2 defensive tackles who are going to Christian Wilkins from Miami. They're going to get paid more money than Ed Oliver just got. That's a guarantee. By the time the season starts, he's probably going to be around 15th, 16th, 17th in salary. So in terms of a contract, you like your defensive tackle. He's around the middle of the pack. The contract's not egregious at all. That's my point. Here's what I don't like. I just don't think he's that good. I really don't.
That's what it should be about. Fuck the contract.
I don't think he's that good. I think
it should be about the player.
He's too splashy. He looks unstoppable at times, and then he completely disappears. It seems like he needs Von Miller going, and I just talked about it. DaQuan Jones not playing against Cincinnati, how that hurt him. You got to be an impactful player. You got to be, if you're a star player, you got to step up. You got to make plays consistently, and you got to do it all the time. And he just doesn't do that. He disappears. My biggest rant maybe of this whole offseason was going back to that playoff loss against Cincinnati. Yes, 8, 9 guys on that defense, you could just sit there and pummel them with criticism. Ed Oliver was garbage in the playoffs, complete freaking garbage. And I'm sorry, but he was. He had a sack against Miami. It's literally because of a blown assignment. He had a free run at the quarterback who pretty much fell. And he was non-existent against the Bengals. Just like Tremaine and just like a lot of players. Greg Rousseau. But I want more from Ed Oliver. So to go out and give him a 4-year deal and give him money, I don't love it. I do, again, you look at the details of the contract, Joe, they could get out of this as early as a year or 2 if they want to. So, again, contracts can be deceiving. I'm just not as high on Ed Oliver, the player, as other people are. I fought with this earlier this week with Aaron Quinn from Cover One on the show.
Oh, yeah. Aaron
thinks he's way better.
Loves him some Ed Oliver, Aaron.
He does love Ed Oliver. He
loves everyone.
He did, and and he presented his case, and he brought up a bunch. He did the homework, man. A lot of stats. He took like 5 or 6 top defensive tackles, averaged some stats out, and Ed Oliver's not far off from them. I just don't see with any consistency, and I can't stand that. So I did not like the extension, but I do understand why, because of what happened with Tremaine Edmonds. You like the player, and by you, I mean Brandon Beane likes the player. Lock him up now, or you might lose him.
I just think they're just giving too much money to players on defense. I'm sorry. You don't win the NFL with defense.
Well, again, defensive tackles, you do. I just don't think.
What do you mean? What?
Defensive tackle is a premium position in the NFL now.
Okay, well, I'm just talking. Look. If you want to give him money, fine. But there's other people that be giving money to. Like they just love giving money to the defense. I just don't get it. I think you have like 2 or 3 expensive guys there and call it a day. And instead they just, they just got to keep going there. They love that defense. And I'm just like, dude, like, when push comes to the shove and you're going against Mahomes, you're going against Burrow, you got to outscore them. And like, you're not going to win these 20.
Your point is fair.
It's fair. Not fair. It's right, motherfucker.
Whatever you want. You know what? You're not wrong because of the playoffs. If you go by the regular season, I'd be like, no, you're wrong. You go by their playoff losses, you're 100% right. 2 years ago, 13 seconds and all that stuff. Guess what? If the Bills played presentable, if the Bills played decent defense, they blow Kansas City out that game because they couldn't stop the Bills' offense. But the defense couldn't make a stop. Literally couldn't make a stop. Yeah. And then last year, look, the offense and the defense both sucked against the Bengals. But that defense got bullied, literally bullied by 3 backup offensive linemen. I thought the Bills were.
And they did that. But they did that with game, I was excited.
Huh?
They did that, though. They got bullied in the Bengals game when they had a lot of defensive players they put money into. It's not like the defense was like garbage. And that's what I mean. They keep going back to that. I don't like that.
I'm not saying you're wrong. That's my point. I'm not saying you're wrong. You have you have valid points.
Okay.
So to give big money to Ed Oliver, I'm not sure I love it because I don't think he's consistent enough. You know, if that's Christian Wilkins, I'll sign his ass and give him that money and then some. Put him in the middle of my defense because he can make some dominant plays. I don't see that from Ed Oliver. I'm not saying you're wrong because the defense has really let us down in the playoffs 2 years in a row. And it's ugly, in the most ugliest of fashion. But it was more annoying last year. I expected Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Kelsey to go blow for blow with the Bills. And that's exactly what happened in the divisional round 2 years ago. Last year, you're coming to Buffalo and you got not 1, not 2, but 3 backup offensive linemen in the game. And you just have your way with the Bills, which, by the way, I only want to spend 5 minutes on this. And then because I want to end. I got a topic that I want to talk to you about at the very end here. But real quick, we're talking about the Bills defense just almost surrendering to the Bengals last playoffs. And God, it's been months and months and months. Let me get a quick thought from you on Leslie Frazier. And we've seen, and we've talked about this a little bit privately in our own conversations. He's been at some coaching stuff and he's keeping in touch and he's made it public. When he left, he said he was planning on coming back next year. And reports are that he wants to get a head coaching job next year. Okay, so that's why I'm not surprised to see him visiting camps right now and in tune with other coaches to keep in contact. But I know you think this is just kind of weird, the circumstances, with him leaving, the timing that it happened in February. And again, this is old news. It's not something that just happened, but I don't know. I guess maybe seeing him around the NFL circuit lately has kind of re-triggered a little bit of, we don't know, and if you want to speculate, I'm not going to tell you to not speculate. I'm not going to speculate on what happened. It's just something definitely happened, though. It just wasn't. Leslie Frazier didn't wake up in February and say, I don't think I want to coach this year. You know? It's just weird. That's all I'm saying. It's just
it's weird a little bit, and I get what he was frustrated. He should have been a head coach. There's been guys who have had worse resumes that have been head coaches, even though, yes, there was moments in the playoffs.
Sure. He deserves another chance. I do agree.
Yeah, but I'll just say this, and I've said this before. Sean McDermott strikes me as I would not want to be a coach with him. He seems like balls to the wall, intense. We have seen a lot of coaches leave there, lateral moves. We've heard so much about, this guy's leaving because of family. Like, how many fucking people love their family that much? They got to leave a fucking great situation where you're going 12-5, 13-3, and we've heard that time and time again. And the skeptic in me wonders if maybe he got a little bit burned out. Maybe Sean McDermott wanted to have a heavier hand in the defense. Maybe the defensive coach that they got from the Panthers coming here, who was a guy they interviewed back in 2016, ruffled Frazier a little bit, like, are you trying to get like an heir apparent to me? And all that stuff. I think there's some, even going back to last year with the special teams coach getting fired or quit, in the end of February. Yeah, it was like, what's going on here? So I kind of wonder about that a little bit. But I'll just say this overall with the defense, how different they're going to be in comparison to last year with McDermott. I've heard a couple of the hype bros on the Bills freaking content thing try to pump him up, he's going to be aggressive. And it's like, what do you think? Do you think McDermott didn't go into Leslie Frazier's office and like help with the defense at all or give his 2 cents. He strikes me as a micromanager. He's gonna like if he wanted Leslie Frazier to be aggressive and like have more stunts or things along those lines, I'm pretty sure he would have told him that. So I don't know how much.
I'll point out one thing that makes me agree with what you just said right there, and I wanted to stop you because I will forget about it if I don't.
Go ahead, buddy.
Last year in the playoff, not last year, 2 years ago, playoffs, 13 seconds. People are killing Leslie Frazier for that prevent defense, and I don't blame him. But not once, but twice. Sean McDermott called timeout. If he wanted to change that look, he would have. He called timeout. He could have said, Leslie, I don't want my guys 25 yards off the guy or, off no one near Travis Kelce. You know what I'm saying? He could have put a defensive end on Kelce and just grabbed him and tackled him and brought him to the ground. You know what I mean? It took the 5-yard penalty. He could have done a lot of different things differently. He called timeout. So you can't really just put that, and we're going back 2 years. Man, we're going in the vault now at this point. But my point is this. I agree what you're saying. Sean McDermott is kind of I would assume, kind of a micromanager. I mean, I'm sure he lets coaches do his thing to an extent. I don't know, but I wanted to point that out.
It's
call timeout twice and then change the goddamn thing on that defense.
Yeah, it's not Brian Dable and Sean McDermott where like I'm sure Brian has more of like latitude to do what he wants. This is Sean McDermott's defense. It's what he's hired for. Like I don't know. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to be with him aside from Frazier. I don't know. And I also worry a little bit about like how much food is going to be on that plate for McDermott. You know what I mean? Because now he's going to have a bigger hand in the defense than he did last year. I mean, even if he had a hand last year, this is much bigger. And we know he can get like, I don't know. I don't want him to burn out, obviously, but it's going to be an interesting season, man. I know we're like 95 days away, and I don't have a great feel for this team right now. I can't get overly like hyped. I can't get like more depressed. I don't know. Or whatever.
I can, but I'll be a homer. I'll be called a homer, and in some ways, I'll feel like a homer. So I'm really high on this team right now.
You're really high on them.
High.
I worry. I think I worry a little bit about the schedule being tougher. I think the AFC is much better than it was last year. Those things kind of worry me a little bit. I worry about the Jets a little bit. I know dumping on Aaron Rodgers is cool because he's a douche, but like if he's good, that Jets team's loaded. Like they got a great defense. They got some skill guys. Like, and they almost, they beat the Bills last year with a fucking moron quarterback, and they're loaded. And I worry a little bit about them a little bit. And Miami played really good against the Bills in all 3 of those games. And who knows what would happen if Tua didn't get his fucking brain scrambled in the playoffs and they're playing. So I don't know. I worry a little bit, but I'm usually a worrier, a cynic. More so than
That's fair. Like I said, I'm kind of high on the team. I don't want to get into no season preview right now. It's freaking
Bills are going 15-2, baby.
15-2. All right. Before we get out of here, I got about 10 more minutes left here, and then we got.
Thank God.
I got to get your take on one thing, because one of the most polarizing things.
Oh God.
And you and I completely disagree on both of these. They're 2 TV shows. And
we're going there.
A couple minutes on. I do want to drop kind of a little bit of a teaser here. Succession, I'm about to talk to you about in a second here. Ashley Rowe, I'm sorry, not Leslie. Ashley Rowe, an awesome anchor, formerly of Channel 7 in Buffalo. She's now working in Raleigh. She's been on this show before. One of my favorites, man. She's going to be on the show 2 weeks from now. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Succession, because as some of you might know, she actually was on an episode. It was the election night coverage. I think it was the 3rd from last episode ever in this final season of Succession. She was on like 4 or 5 times. Really cool. She got a chance to talk to the creator, 1 or 2 people from the cast. We're going to talk about the whole process of being on that show, and hopefully she can take us behind the scenes a little bit. So anyway, look for that in 2 weeks. But anyway, Succession. I hear people say it a lot on Twitter. I couldn't agree less, saying it's one of the greatest TV shows of all time. I don't know. And again, just spend a couple of minutes, but you tell me why you think this is one of the if you think this is one of the greatest TV shows of all time, and if so, why?
I would say it's one of the best dramas of all time. I think it's hard for me to say, like, if you were to say like Game of Thrones versus Succession, it's apples and fucking pomegranates here. Like, you can't compare both of them to each other. I thought it was a really good. I thought it was a great drama. I thought it was I like the behind. I'm a TV guy. I work in television, so I always kind of enjoyed that television.
Let me cut you off real quick before you get into if you have not seen Succession and you plan on it and you want to, just in case a spoiler slips out or whatever, then stop watching or listening to this.
Yeah, you're an idiot if you haven't watched it yet. All right, anyway.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I always like kind of like the behind the scenes stuff of like how like a media conglomerate works, with it being like they have businesses and you know, cruises, TV, etc. I thought all the characters were great, and I think I remember you and I talked about this a couple years ago. Like, you did not think any of them were redeeming. Kind of hated all of them.
Nope.
Here's my counter to that. What's the difference between those characters and the Sopranos characters? Are you going to tell me that Sopranos characters were redeeming? They were all assholes. Sociopaths,
there were some
murderers,
light moments. There were
light moments here.
Family
like, come
people on. To an extent,
but that was the same thing. But they hated on the Sopranos. They hated, the families usually hated each other, just like this show. They also argued, and there was non-redeeming qualities about those characters. I think the problem with you, Pat, is like you needed there to be like a splash moment in every couple of episodes, like someone dies or Roman jumps off a cliff or something like that. And I think that's the difference between Sopranos and that. There wasn't that like action-packed like moment of like, oh, this dude dies.
There was very few of these like, whoa.
I agree with that. It was a very slow burn, but I watched it because I loved the characters. I thought they were funny. I thought they were engaging. Like, you know, everyone had like their quotes. That's why I enjoyed it a lot. And I think it was a good arc. Like, it was Succession. You didn't know who was gonna take over the company, and that was like the build. And Roman kept fucking himself up every season when it looked like he had the lead, and he screwed himself over, and blah blah blah. You know.
All right. So here's my take on it. Here's what I liked about the show, and I will admit it that I liked it. I thought the writing was good. I thought the dialogue was excellent, like the character dialogue, the conversations between people. I thought that part was excellent. I think the concept of a media mogul, you know, and a family fighting over control and ultimately who's going to win the power, that concept in theory to me was definitely intriguing. Now, this won 3 seasons. My biggest beefs with it,
4 seasons. Anyway.
4 seasons?
Yeah.
Okay, 4 seasons. I'm sorry, 4 seasons. I was thinking of Ted Lasso, 3 seasons. More on that in a second. Yeah, 4 seasons of Succession. I'm sorry. Here's what I hated about the show, though. You mentioned one thing, like just not enough happened. It was, you know, it's like having an album and you have 2 or 3 great songs on, and then the rest are just completely skippable. That's how I felt. It's like you can miss 3 episodes. What are you really missing? They're wrestling, they're angling for this, they're angling for that. In terms of characters, I don't mind villains, but it's exhausting when you hate literally every single person from beginning to end. I like to see whether it's good or bad. I like to see characters evolve some. You know, sometimes a character will redeem, you know, that redeeming arc, or sometimes you'll see a pretty decent person slip into becoming a full-fledged villain throughout the series. This show, they were assholes in the first hour and they were assholes in the last hour and pretty much every hour in between.
But so were they on Sopranos, though. They were assholes on that show. So what's the difference?
Moments
there was comedy on Sopranos.
On those shows. There was a lot of comedy.
But there was comedy on this one too. There was funny moments.
There was some fun. Yeah, there were some funny lines.
Was there too much dialogue for you? I don't know.
Right, like what happened? Like 4 seasons. What really happened? The person won power at the end by kissing ass. Okay.
Well, there's a lot of things that happened.
None of the kids won.
Roman went. Hold on. Look at the arcs. Roman went from he was supposed to be the guy. Kendall was supposed to be the guy. He then became an alcoholic. He then killed someone. Went to rehab. Got his groove back, got fucked again, and then this year thought he was going to get it. He was all over the place. He wasn't just one. You can't just say, oh, if you miss a bunch of episodes. He had like 4 or 5 different arcs. Same with Shiv. Shiv was like, oh, I'm going to go work with the liberal, like, you know, political party for like the first season, and then like she kind of got the rug snatched out of her. Then her and Tom's relationship was like there, and then it was dead, and like there was a lot of different moments for them, and then. You know, Roman was just, I mean, he probably was like, he had the thing with Jerry and jerking off in the window or the hell he was doing, but like, he was kind of, he just kind of was there. Then I loved it. I thought it was great. Maybe have you watched it you've only watched one episode each. Like you haven't binged. Maybe you got one of your days.
I've never binged it. No. I watched it every weekly.
But maybe you should watch it again. Rewatch it.
I hate watched a lot of it, but
you
then
did. You were annoying. You were a prick.
But in the last season, it won me a little bit. I went from hating the show to just thinking it's overrated, and I still think it's overrated. I do not think it's even in the same ballpark as being one of the greatest shows of all time.
You know what?
Definitely not.
I'm going to ask you this, and this is I've been trying to figure this out. It was only 4 seasons. Ted Lasso only 3.
Mm-hmm.
How much does it matter to you if a show was like they went out shorter than like Sopranos, which was like 7 seasons? Or does that matter to you? Like,
no, it's not
because series like they're great, but then they like
it depends on the situation. But in this situation with Succession, I thought 4 seasons was the proper amount. I thought it was the right amount of storytelling. I don't know how much more they really could have told. And again,
because I think about Walking Dead and Mad Men. I don't know if you watched either of those shows, but like they went on forever and they were much better.
Yeah, they overstayed their welcome. Absolutely.
They overstayed it. At least I thought.
The Office, you can make it. The Office is my favorite show of all time. Now, I'm not comparing it to, shows like Succession because it's a comedy versus a drama. You can't do that. That's not right. You can't.
That's what I was saying before. Like Thrones, you can't really compare it.
But like The Office overstayed its welcome. When Michael Scott was gone in season 7, that probably should have started to wrap up then and went on another 2.5 seasons. And I'll tell you one other thing too about Succession with the finale. For like that one moment, maybe the only time in the series where the 3 kids were in the kitchen concocting that crazy ass shit that they made Roman or
the crown for
drink.
a king. Yeah,
exactly. That kind of give a glimpse into what like life could have been for them. Being silly, having fun, but it was never like that. And then of course the board the next day. And at the end of the day, Shiv just couldn't stand to see her brother win. That's what it all came down to in the end. In fact, I saw a quote from the creator goes, that's how I interpreted it. At the end of the day, it was about Shiv just not being able to stomach her brother being the one who gets the power.
I took it as she did that because she was going to have a kid and she was hoping that's why she wanted to stay with Tom. So like the kid can get the
right. That's what a lot of people think.
That's what I assume.
But the creator, I'm pretty sure it was the creator who said at the end, he envisioned Shiv as just being unable to stomach seeing Kendall win power. So anyway, that was Succession. Then the other show was Ted Lasso. And this is the opposite. You're not as high on this as I was.
I thought, I don't know.
You did have a fun analogy for it. I'll give you that. I want to read it. I had to look it up on my phone.
I think I know what it is.
You said it's overrated. I say it's a great show.
I think it's Full House meets soccer. Meets soccer. And look, I loved Full House growing up. It was just, and I get it. Like, yes, they did a lot of topics that were hot button topics. And they incorporated in that. And I actually thought they did that with Succession a few different times, like with like hot topics that were happening, like with especially this past season, going back to Succession with the government, with the stuff with the government and like protesters, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, but I just thought Lasso was just like, I thought it was great. It's funny. It was good. I don't know. I didn't, it was fine. It was good. I don't think it's not on the level of The Office. It's not on the level of Schitt's Creek. I don't think so. I thought it was just a little bit like, it was just,
I'm glad you said that show though.
Yeah. I think part of the reason like it was such a success was when it came out, it was during the height of the pandemic when all of us were sitting at home, and it came out at a perfect time when it made you feel good. And that was the show. It made you feel good after you watched it, but creatively, it was far-fetched. There was all this. The soccer stuff was bullshit. I watch soccer. I'm not a savant when it comes to soccer.
Yeah,
but a lot of that was
stuff.
Just.
That's why I got a kick out of your Full House meets soccer. That's
it was just a little bit like and just like And
I don't think it was much about soccer. I don't think the show, although maybe it was intended originally, or you would.
No,
think
it was about like
soccer.
the relationships between the
team.
Exactly. And I just look, it was fine. It was good. I don't think it's like a cult following. I don't think it's on that realm of it's a good show. It's not in The Office, Schitt's Creek, Good Place, which are my favorite like comedies that I've watched over the last 10 years series.
Here's how I feel about it. And I want to preface this by saying we're talking about 2 different shows here. We were just talking about Succession and now we're talking about wrapping it up here with Ted Lasso. I'm not comparing the shows because you can't.
Sure.
The shows are different types of things. But here's what I love most about Ted Lasso. Dude, it's just a show like Succession, and I'm not even criticizing the show itself, but it's just exhausting. Again, all this greed and power and these storylines about it, and not that it's not real, because this is probably out to some extent anyway how the real world actually is. You know what I'm saying? All these shows like that, the violence and crime and all the like shows like The Wire, which is a classic to me. You know, there's just how the real world is. Sometimes it's just pretty fucking cool to turn on Ted Lasso and just feel good about shit. You know what I mean? Root for the good guys. There are no bad guys. Well, except for the owner.
The douchebag owner, yes.
Yeah, the douchebag owner guy. Except for him, there are no bad guys on the show. That's what I'm saying. You know,
I feel like
one good guy. That's why I like Schitt's Creek too, and I do kind of compare them because I got those same vibes with Schitt's Creek. Now I think Schitt's Creek was a little bit better, but it's just like you turn on Schitt's Creek, you feel good, man. It's a feel good show. Ted Lasso is a feel good show, and there's not enough of those out there. Now I'm not saying shows are written as well as Succession, but there's a million crazy dramas out there, and there's just not enough feel good shows. I just want to fucking feel good when I'm watching a fictional TV show. Ted Lasso made me feel great, man. You know?
It made me feel good. As I said, it was a little cheesy.
Very cheesy,
but it was fine.
Creek, though. So
I don't feel as strongly about it in a like that you do as Succession. Like you hate quote unquote air quote Succession more than I think Ted Lasso is
great.
Yeah. Okay. One last thing. I know you wanted to wrap up, but we're not, because I'm in charge now. We got to talk about this Diggs shit, because you and I went at it on the private messenger thing about Diggs. He hasn't talked yet, right? He hasn't come to OTAs. Nope. Okay. Why is it a big deal? Who gives a shit? Why?
It's not a big deal to me.
It is a big deal to you. You've been sticking up for your boy Skursky about like, oh, he should be talking to us.
No.
It's stupid.
I think he's right. I think no.
You think he's right? Okay.
I'm being real. I do think he's right. I think Jay has been critical of Stefon Diggs for being a captain and not talking at the end of last season. Well, it's the truth. Don't be his captain then if you're not going to talk.
Oh my God, you're insane. You really think being a captain and part of being
we're talking about two separate things here.
The captain demandments are you have to talk to the media. Like, give me a break, dude.
You should. You're a leader.
No, that's not in his contract or whatever. I would not think you have to talk. You know how many times you're a historian, Pat? You know how many times Thurman Thomas blew off fucking like talking to the media, and he was a leader. Okay, and they didn't have captains then like on your stupid sleeve. That's like the annoying thing now, because now they put the C on your freaking jersey for football. They can like go like, oh, he's a captain, whereas before no one knew who the fuck the captains were. But Thurman was a leader. He would brood, and he wouldn't talk to the media. And you know what? He was a leader in that locker room. That's all I care about. Look, Diggs freaking how big of a leader is he? When Hamlin got hurt, Diggs fucking after the game drove to the hospital. That's being a
guy.
Oh, that's being a leader. Don't say he's not a leader because he won't.
I didn't say he wasn't a leader. Leader should talk though.
You should. No, you're disagreeing with it. You're just saying you're talking out both sides of your mouth here.
No, I'm not. Because you're talking about a specific thing, and two different things. I'm talking about Jay Skursky being critical of Stefon Diggs, and I agree with Jay that he should have got some answers from Stefon at the end of last season.
What was he going to ask?
That is completely separate from you asking if I'm worried or if I think it's a big deal that Stefon Diggs is not at OTAs. I don't give a shit if he's at OTAs. Okay. That means zero to me.
Okay, so I agree.
Fans might be overreacting, but I'm not one of them. I don't think
anyone's overreacting. I think it's a media creation.
If he's not there next week is mandatory minicamp.
Okay, he'll be
there. If he doesn't show up next week, then it starts to become an issue.
Why does it? Yes, fine. Okay,
it's mandatory.
He'll be there, and he can answer the stupid questions that Jay's dying to ask.
Maybe he doesn't talk.
I think this has been a proponent of it's been media driven. I think there are a couple, not all of them. There's a couple Bills beat guys who always get pissy when guys don't talk. I saw it with Mario Williams, saw it with Marshawn Lynch. I've seen it a bunch of times when guys just don't really talk, and then they try to run them. They try to be like, oh, why is he not talking? You should be a leader. First off, and I've heard podcasts where they've said like, oh, he hasn't talked to the local media since the Bengals game. He has. He talked to Kat Fitzgerald, the girl from the Buffalo News.
Yeah, before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl. And like no one talked about that. It's probably because the news doesn't know how to tweet their articles because they're doing regurgitation 100 pieces of like 7 reasons why you should die a Bills fan or some bullshit. But they talk to them. End of story. And I don't think fans give a shit about him not talking during OTAs. I don't think they care. I don't think it matters to his teammates all that much. And I think it's a manufactured thing. And you know why I'm going to tell you this? Because the last time you and I were on this podcast, and I'm going back in the time machine, I brought up the things with Stefon Diggs, like not talking, and like him and his brother, like kind of tweeting stupid things. And you were like, I don't want to talk about this. There's nothing there. Now all of a sudden you think there's something a little bit there because he's not talking. But you think, but I don't get why you're saying.
I think he should have talked at the end of last season more. I don't think him not talking now means nothing.
He talked once. He talked on the fucking Dan Patrick show, and he talked on the Buffalo News. What do you need him to talk about? I think there's a couple people who don't care, but they want to have their media bros backs, and they're like, oh yeah, he should probably talk because even though I don't care, like it's stupid, like it's just dumb. I think there's nothing ever unique or interesting ever comes out of a player's mouth after a game, especially a loss. They're always close, especially with this roster. They're pretty quiet. They don't really say shit. It's just like it's this grand theater. I think sometimes where they need to answer the questions and they got to answer it to me. Like who gives a shit?
Well, anyway, he didn't show up to any of the 3 OTAs.
Good, I wouldn't have showed up either.
0%. I don't give a shit. That concerns me 0%.
No, and I agree with that. I don't think it concerns 90% of everyone. I'm talking about him not talking. I don't think that's a big deal. Who gives a fuck? That's all I'm saying. That does not make him less of a leader. It's bullshit. If that's a narrative that a couple of writers are writing about, like, oh, he's not a leader because he couldn't talk to me at the end of the press conference.
I'm not.
The season was an hour done, and Jay went on Twitter to complain about that afterwards. No offense to Jay. He's a good dresser, but that's a fucking garbage take.
Well, okay. You're entitled. Again, you are entitled to your opinion. I will say that I feel like you're calling Jay out, which if you are, you are. That's okay. That's your opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know that there's other writers. I don't know if there's a lot of writers out there bitching about him not talking.
Tim Graham has kind of complained about it on his podcast a little bit. Jay's, I'm telling you, like
we all have different opinions.
Jay has kind of done it. He did it on your podcast. He did it when you guys got pizza together and wings, and he said like he should be talking. He's a leader. And look, it's his opinion, and my opinion is I think he's wrong and he's overstating that importance. I think I listened to Beauvais and Sal's podcast, and I think they were kind of on the side of that's not a big deal, but he probably should talk. And I'm like, who gives a shit? Why does he have to talk? That's the thing about these OTAs. Like, oh, they got to talk. Who gives a fuck? All these.
I mean, you want to hear from the best players. That's why.
Sure, but it's May or June. Where the fuck meant this? Who goes out? Go outside. Why do we have these interview things?
Do an interview. Go to show up in minicamp next week, which is mandatory. And again, if he doesn't show up next week, then I think you're starting to have a little bit of an issue. Then you might say there's a little bit of a rift going on between Stefon and whether it's Josh or the organization or something. If you don't show up for something mandatory, then you have a right to start at least questioning a little bit. Is there some kind of rift going on? Which obviously you hope not. Look, I care that he shows up. I care that he has the kind of season that he's had the last 3 seasons, which have been the best 3 seasons in the history of the franchise. Literally at wide receiver. Would I like to see him talk? Yeah, I would like to see him talk because again,
why would you like to see him talk?
Leader, he's entertaining, and I want to hear from the best players. It's just how it is.
Why do you want to hear about? But they never say anything.
Because it's football, and I want to hear football talk from the best players on the team.
But they don't really say anything. I think you're saying this because you view it as, oh, if I was a media person, I would want him to talk so I can meet my deadlines and write this and write that. And I don't think the majority of people care. Well, I'm not seeing. I'm viewing it.
I do think people would love to hear from him. And if I was covering the beat and I was trying to
go call his agent if you want to talk to him,
I would want to talk to him and I'd want to hear from him.
I think it's lame, especially in May. But he's already he's already talked about it. He talked about it locally with the Buffalo News. He talked about it
last year. I want to hear how he's doing, what he's doing this offseason.
What do you want to hear? What do you want to?
What does he think? Tell me. I want to hear.
What are you eating? Are you eating wigs? Are you dating a Marvel starlet too?
Get Stefon on the podium, bro. Get him on the podium. Say, hey, what do you think of Dalton Kincaid? What did you think when the Bills took a first-round pick on a guy like Dalton Kincaid? What do you think he'll bring to the offense? What do you think Ken Dorsey going in his second year? Additions to the offensive line. What do you think about your boy Josh being on the cover of Madden? You sure? We don't need to hear about
hard-hitting news. Yes, sure.
Point is, last year's old news. That I will agree with you. But I want to hear from one of my leaders and best players. I want to hear what he thinks about things.
It's OTAs. Why you're going to hear him in training camp? You're going to hear him next week, probably.
I didn't say tomorrow. I didn't say tomorrow.
Okay, I'm saying who cares? He's going to talk anyway. 75 different podium options that are going to happen between now and the start of the football season.
Last point about Diggs and for the show. I think there's a percentage of fans that maybe aren't concerned, but at least knowledgeable and maybe a little bit wary of Stefon in Minnesota and how things ended there and him wanting out and ultimately getting traded. He ain't going nowhere. Let's put that out there. Money-wise, he's here this year. He's here next year. These next 2 years, Stefon Diggs is a Buffalo Bill, period. It would cost him insane money to get rid of him. So that shit ain't going to happen.
He's not going to ask to get traded. The Vikings were mediocre with him. It's fucking Cousins. He's not. Even if the cap was fine, he's not getting traded. Why would he want to go?
I'm telling you, the history suggests there might be some people because of him getting out of one organization before, then maybe there might be a little bit of a
that felt a little bit. Look, that whole him getting out of Minnesota, he got.
You're not putting words in my mouth. I like Stefon. I do think he's a great player. He's one of my favorite players on the team. He's fun to watch.
Do you think he's not a leader because he hasn't talked to the media? Because
I think he's 100% leader, and you said a perfect point about what he did with DeMar Hamlin.
Okay,
100% he's a leader.
Yeah,
I still want to hear from him.
Do you think he's? You want to hear from him more? I mean, it's June.
I want to hear him in May. I want to hear from anyone whose name's not Von Miller more. I don't want to hear any more from Von Miller. I love Von Miller, but I ain't sick of hearing this dude talk about Odell Beckham Jr. and fucking DeAndre Hopkins and all this other stuff. If you want to know something that's not going to happen, just ask Von Miller and he will tell you.
I don't know what to make of.
Von's a baller. I love him. But come on,
it's funny.
No more from Von Miller.
Von Miller's a very media savvy. He's a media savvy guy. I think he's
wants
to be
in media when his career's over.
And that's why that's why I think he talks out of his ass a little bit, just like Stephen A. Smith or whoever you want to talk about, like they do. But anyways,
he's a leader. He's a great player, and he's willing to talk. I'd like to see Stefon a little bit more like that.
Oh my God, he's a little bit more. And that's another thing. And I think some of this they'll still do. Matt Milano, I don't think talked. I don't think he went to OTAs. Why isn't anyone fucking going after? Oh, we should. Your media bros are a couple of them.
No, they're not.
No, you just had Jay on your fucking podcast, and he said that he should have talked. And he said it, and he mentioned it in one of the fucking mailbags. I read shit. You don't. You're too busy eating wings and stalking Joe Marino. Okay, I read articles by the.
Don't think there's much of an issue about Stefon not being at OTAs from media people. I just don't.
No, and there's been chatter.
Mandatory minicamp.
Chatter. I just gave you the examples of but I was going to go back to this. I think some of it even goes back to the regular season because. And I think Sully your boy Sully, I shouldn't say your boy, but like Sully mentioned this a while ago, I remember. And I think Graham mentioned it, that after the game, the Bills usually trot out like 4 or 5 players. And Stefon Diggs is normally not that guy after post games, I guess. It's kind of like how the rule. And I think part of that is like they're doing a little bit of a power play of, oh, you didn't talk. And that's why they're bringing it up a little bit more than probably I would care about, but I'm just. It's just I'm a sucker for the dynamic between the media and players and the team. I talk about it. It's part of my gimmick.
Definitely part of your gimmick, man. That's
part of my gimmick. But yeah, anyways, I don't give it. The bottom line is this:
on the media, that's definitely part of his.
The bottom line is this: if you really give a fuck about Stefon Diggs talking at OTAs, stop it. And I'm with you. Like, I don't think that many people do, but I think a couple media bros, they gotta be like, the press is right. We need to talk. And I'm just like, it's fucking May. It's June. Who cares? Like, why are people giving a shit about this? OTAs. It's stupid. We'll see him in training camp.
I can't speak for other people.
I miss the old days.
I do want to hear from him, but again, I don't want to hear about last year. I don't want to hear get questions about if there's a rift between.
You want to ask about the Josh Allen fucking Manning cover? Some hard hitting questions. You know what? I wish they would be more. They would be as annoyed with Stefon Diggs not talking, than more about when the Pagulas don't talk. When all that shit happened last year, we didn't know what the fuck Kim Pagula was. And it was all this rumor. Who knows? No one was demanding, hey, you guys want to make a statement? None of that shit. They were just like, you guys take your time. No worries. But like, when there's like $1 billion on the line for a fucking stadium, but Stefon Diggs doesn't talk. Oh man, he should be at this spring fucking glorified practice.
Is asking players about their thoughts on Josh Allen being on the cover. Is that the new, are you a blue cheese guy? Like when a guy signs for the Bills, is there going to hear a lot of that?
Oh, the blue cheese guy.
Do you like blue cheese?
Oh,
is that going to be like the new, what are your thoughts on your boy Josh being on the cover of Madden this year?
I'm definitely sure it's going to be a hot button topic next week. It's going to be that, which is fine. Look, that's the time you're going to ask stupid questions. And that's why I don't give a shit about Diggs being there. You can ask him about fucking blue sheets or the fucking Madden cover. Who gives a fine. So that's why I'm like, who cares if he's there? Like, yeah, you can get away with asking fucking ham questions there. I don't know.
All right, we have to get out of here. Give Joe a follow. He's not on
No,
Twitter
don't follow me.
But he's still there enough. At Buffalo Wins.
Follow me on Instagram if you want. I got some cool thick pictures I put up.
Instagram's a thing?
Yeah, people are on Instagram.
I guess. All right, man.
You're on Instagram, aren't you? You should be on TikTok.
I don't even know what my Instagram is. I know I'm on Instagram. I don't even know what it is.
Chicken wing of buffalo over here, King.
Thank you, Joe, for being on the show. I want to thank everybody again for spending part of their Saturday or whatever time of the weekend watching this. I appreciate you all. We'll be back, brand new shows next week. Take care, guys.